Hello, you're welcome to this edition of my Liberation Gospel, wherever you are. I salute you. My name is Ukachukwu Okorie, and I want to continue from where I stopped yesterday. I don't know if you were following me yesterday before it was cut. And the other page I opened, there's a page I opened, I gave the link. It's a like page. I used to operate another like page, but Facebook just took it away, closed it down. I don't know. I have informed you, and many of you who live in Ireland may have observed. They are struggling with with our movement on making a very far-ending and wider reach. But like I always say, the moon, the hands can never cover the moon. I've decided to continue from yesterday from this page, and however they may cut it short, it will be circulated on other sources of the social media. I thank you for joining me today. I thank our Father in heaven for the grace to see this day, for the wisdom to share with you, my brothers and sisters, the knowledge that I have, and I pray that what you hear this evening will give you the audacity to do justice to the greater glory of His name and for our good through Christ our Lord. My name is Ukachukwu Okorie. Like I said earlier on, I want to talk a bit within the next hour on IPOB, Radio Biafra, and the audacity of hope. Yesterday, I called it, I titled it Radio Biafra, IPOB, and Matters Arising. Why I want to do justice, a bit of justice to this. If you listened yesterday, I gave an analogy of what happened to me when I was doing my first degree at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka. I defined a group and a nation through the idiosyncrasy of the leader. I think that talk was about 30-something minutes or thereabout before it was cut short. So, and I will want to continue for want of time. I talked about the rise of the IPOB and a bit of the history of Radio Biafra. Many of you who are older than me, or if you are old enough to have the knowledge of eyewitness account of the Nigerian Biafra Civil War, you must have heard about Radio Biafra, the voice of Biafra. It was the main communication mouthpiece of the Republic of Biafra Sadel. But the IPOB took it up, particularly their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, took it up and has been doing a lot with it. I must say that the Radio Biafra is ushering what I call, as a historian, what we call in history the age of Renaissance among Nigerians. When it started, it was like, a lot of people do have issues with Biafra, and that is the Nigeria. But gradually, it's beginning to sink into the minds of the people that in Biafra, Africa died. That was in 1970. And in the resurrection or restoration of the Republic of Biafra, that will be the restoration of the hope for Africa. I always say restoring the dignity of man, because in Biafra there comes light And we've said no matter the propaganda, no matter the lies that have been ushered out by critics or those who are violently and vehemently opposed to the restoration of the Republic. The Republic of Biafra signifies light. It's a signal of light, restoration of the dignity of man, and to a great extent, restoring those salient ingredients that is inherent in the children of God. But I want to look a bit about Radio Biafra and IPOB. Starting with Radio Biafra, we've seen what it is doing. But first of all, if you listened yesterday, I talked about a bit of the man behind the microphone, the man that is the driving force in the current Radio Biafra, because I defined any organization, it's just normal. You use your common sense. Any organization, whether it is good or bad, you look at the leader, the main leader of the organization. You will be able to define the organization, whether it's going to move forward, whether it's going to be stagnant, or whether it is going to take a snail speed. And if you assess, if you begin to read the characteristics of the man behind the Radio Biafra, you will begin to understand the direction of the radio and come to terms with its characteristics. But first of all, you talk about the idiosyncrasy of the man. Who is he? He's kind of person. There are factors or characteristics that can be synonymous with that Radio Biafra. Because if you look at the name Biafra that is attached to it, you may just, if you're not a fan or a follower or an agitator or an activist in favor of restoring the Republic, you will just wave the Radio Biafra by the side. But analysts and watchers of events and opinionists will have a lot to say. No matter how you criticize the Radio Biafra, it has its good sides. And as a historian, I've looked at the period of what we call Renaissance in history. The Renaissance, it was a fervent period of European cultural and artistic and political and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. Generally, you know, you can talk about the Renaissance starting from the 14th to 17th century. For instance, we are in the 21st century, 20-something. Historians always count ahead. And you see, this is why it is important to know history better. It's part of what Radio Biafra has done in recent times. I want you to spread this video because Facebook, this platform, despite the fact that we appreciate their widespread, they've continued to wage battle on voices of justice and strong voices that want to reach the farthest end of the earth. So, the age of Renaissance, it promoted the rediscovery of philosophy, literature, and arts. And why I say within a very short period, I know when you say 14th century to 17th century, is a very long period. But within a very short time, Radio Biafra, it's beginning to do something that is important in the mindset of the average Nigerian. And that is unmasking, you know, just bringing down that puzzle. It looks like a puzzle, but it's not a puzzle. But that's why I added it up. I said Radio Biafra, IPOB, and the audacity of hope. Audacity, something that is the courage. It's bringing courage. It's consistency. It's fearlessness. It's doggedness. And it's a weapon of truth with in-depth research. And that's why I said you can't talk about Radio Biafra and without the man who is behind the microphone. And it is important, whatever they may say, look, truth, once you are a peddler of truth, if you are a peddler of truth, you will meet brick wall, you will meet trouble, you will meet every kind of threat. You could even meet, we know history, men and women who have always stood for truth. Most died. We talk about Martin Luther, and there are many other ones who championed truth. Championing truth comes with a lot of risk. It comes with a lot of risk, and Radio Biafra and even IPOB has not shied away from that part of telling the truth and taking risk. Like I said, Radio Biafra was formerly Voice of Biafra during the time of this short-lived Biafran and Nigeria war that was fought between 1967 to 1970. But it started again from 2015 or so. It began its march again, and I was privileged to interview the young man behind it. That was a few years ago. I keep telling you can access it on YouTube. And I was then he was coming up, traveling around the world, mobilizing the momentum for the Radio Biafra started there. But now, although there were a lot of kicks, they got a lot of kicks, threats, many died in the course of raising the standard of the radio or raising its reach. But today, I can tell you with confidence from my research and even from your own understanding and knowledge, the Radio Biafra is being listened by many, even by those who are for and against it. It is a source of research. It's a citadel of learning by its adherents or listeners. Those who listen to it, they learn a lot. And because most of the things facts that come out of there, we check it and they are quite truth. And like its motto says, in defense of freedom, it is now an instrument of freedom. Its echoes reverberates around the world, particularly among Nigerians. It is now a vehicle that's driving hope for many Nigerians, because we've seen a wicked hegemony by the Fulanis since they conquered the Hausas, and they've held Nigeria by its jugular, using the people they conquered, the Hausas, to trample and strangle the surrounding tribes in the north and extending to the rest of the people living around the River Niger and Benue. When the British came on, they saw them, and the British, being colonists, decided to parley with them and give them power. to reign on Nigeria and pay them their taxes. You understand what I mean? So, in talking about Radio Biafra, we look at the idiosyncrasy of the young man behind the microphone. What are his characteristics? Like I mentioned earlier on, it is important to know that his idiosyncrasy guides the radio station, and key characteristics are his consistency. He's been consistent since he started the IPOB, Indigenous People of Biafra group, one of the groups that are championing for the restoration of the Republic of Biafra. And today the group has risen to be at the top of all other groups that are championing for the Republic. Whether we believe it or not, or like it or not, IPOB is at the helm, is at the top of the groups that are championing, and they have added bites. When we say added bites, they've done a lot to dismantle Nigeria, and they don't hide from that fact. So the consistency of Radio Biafra, it's something that is unique. It's unique, and if you are understanding the art and process of freedom fighting, mass awareness, adult education, many things. Consistency, they've been consistent ever since he started broadcasting via that Radio Biafra. The man Nnamdi Kanu has been very consistent, and the fearlessness, that is one of the things that is the characteristics of the Radio Biafra. Fearlessness. He's been fearless in his broadcasts. He's been fearless in ushering the truth, and he's been fearless in rousing the minds of his listeners, in waking them up from slumber, in driving them into demanding what they yearn for, including driving crazy the actors of the hegemony in Nigeria. So fearlessness is one of its characteristics. So doggedness, the radio station has been dogged, and the young man himself is a dogged guy. He doesn't care. Many say he's arrogant, but I always say that's not arrogance. Is a character, in the sense that those he's arrogant at, or those he insults, are those Nigerians. If they are given the chance, Nigerians will execute them. Most Nigerians have always wished what happened in Ghana can happen in their country, but unfortunately, they shy away from the truth. We've seen from government unto government, even at the return of the civil rule in 1999. Obasanjo took the realms of power. He was rigged into power. He was rigged into power. Whatever we may, I was opportune to be in Jos for that the PDP convention. As a first year student, I followed a bus from Oka to Jos. That was my first time of going to Jos, and I saw everything that happened: the bribery, the corruption, the intimidation, in fact, the blatant rape of democracy in the country. And Obasanjo came into power. We saw whatever happened. Nigeria is a country whereby the governor or those are at the helm of affairs will be beating their chest for providing pipe-borne water. They beat their chest for paying salaries. They clap for themselves for doing the needful things that they were elected to do. They clap for themselves. They dish out government funds at occasions as if it is their private funds. I mean, they run governance. The way they run governance there is as if they run their family. And these are the people, the man behind the microphone and Radio Biafra is arrogant against. He doesn't hide that feelings. He calls them all sorts of names, curses them, tells them to their face how bad they are, how wicked they are, how mischievous they are. Yet, many say he's arrogant. Many say he is not good. Many call him all sorts of names because of his courage, because of his fearlessness, because of his being dogged, because of his consistency. So these are the things. That's why some people will say Nigerians are the most hypocrites in this world, because they wish that their crop of leaders are even dealt with, executed, if given the chance. But they've seen someone who is doing a good job, causing them sleepless nights, yet they criticize him. Even since I started listening to Radio Biafra, especially in this uncertain COVID-19 time, let me quote your so-called leaders is COVID-19. In this COVID-19 era, I've been following up, listening to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, especially on his days of broadcast. As a historian, most of his researches are right. He's getting them. He's doing a lot of good work. He's, to me, he is dusting the brains of many Nigerians. Not only Biafrans, not only Igbos. Some people, like they usually do, they will always ascribe Biafra to Igbos. But it is not so. As a historian, many of us do know that the bulk of the slaves that were exported to the New World through the Bight of Bonnet were Igbos. The Igbos, many Igbos flourished during the slavery. We know about the Arrow slaving oligarchy, though we don't talk about that. But if you're a historian, you will know about the Arrow slaving oligarchy, and that's why you see across Igbo land, not only Igbo land, across southeast and south, you will see settlements of the people of Ukachukwu, because they used their deity during the slave era to they used their deity to push the slave trade to a great extent. They didn't get involved in political issues, because knowing fully that the people of Biafra are naturally Republicans. Every town, every community is independent on its own. They have their ways of making decisions, but they influenced the people of the eastern region, old eastern region, ancient Biafrans. They influenced them through the on the economic front, through that they call it Ebino Babe. And today you will see, I don't want to delve into that, many of the settlements changed their names, but we will still see some, up to today, we will still see relics of these towns. So we have the Ukachukwu, most of them left Ukachukwu and settled in different places. In today's southeast and south, you will still see Some of them, if you delve deep, if you research, but that is history. At least you will know about the biggest settlements of the Arochukwu, the Arondi Zog. You know about the Arondi Zog. If you go to Calabar, and I was reading, doing some research these days, the kings of the new Calabars are Igbos. Even most of the body people, they are Igbos. Those that today will call themselves Ibibios, Anangs, Ejos, are all Igbos. But having said that, these people are all brothers and sisters. And Radio Biafra has done a lot to bring up this question of identity crisis among the people of Biafra. With research, as a historian, I can corroborate to some of his assertions that most of these people are Igbos. During the era of slavery, slaves were transported, especially to the Bonny area, because there was the men. Slaves from the Bight of Bonny were very costly. They were the most lucrative, and they were the most sought after slaves in the New World, and most of them were all Igbos. So Radio Biafra has done a lot with the characteristics of the man behind the microphone. It has emboldened its listeners. It's now a temple of worship for adherents. Some people may call it die-hard listeners. But there's something it's doing now. It's extending its scope, to many are now listening to it. And that was why I talked about the age of Renaissance. What we call in European history, the age of Renaissance. Between 14th to 17th century. It's a time of literature, it's a time of knowledge, it's a time of arts, it's a time of great awakening. We've seen, this is the good side of the social media, because the mainstream media it could be akin to the Middle Ages, whereby those at the helm of affairs want to stifle freedom of expression. They don't want people to talk. Do you know there was a time you couldn't even afford to buy a Bible? It would take a priest's 1 year salary to buy a Bible, because they were hiding Bible until that yoke or jinx was broken. And that was how Martin Luther, the priest and the lecturer at Wittenberg, got laid hand on the Bible, read the Bible, and got the spirit of awakening got into him, and he wrote his thesis challenging anomalies, things that were happening in the Catholic Church. And that was the rise, the birth of Protestantism, criticism, because then it was like heresy. You couldn't challenge the Pope. You can't challenge the bishop. Just like in Nigeria, you can't challenge the status quo. You can't criticize. You see what is happening. Nigerian journalists are brown envelope journalists. They no longer research. They no longer write truth with just a bundle of cash. They will just stay in their home and churn out lies. And because the mainstream media controlled what people read, what people hear, so there weren't that kind of awakening. And this is why you see the social media, the age of social media is now giving way to our new sense of awakening. And that's why you see Radio Biafra is going far. Mind you, they try to bring up bills to control. In some countries, they tried that, but it didn't work. Because there's enormous power among the people. This vox populi, the voice of the people is always the strength. A Latin maxim will always say, salus populi et suprema lex. The welfare of the people remains the supreme law. When we talk about capitalism, it doesn't mean like I'm a capitalist, but I believe in capitalism with a human face. I will always argue with a socialist because of, I'm not saying socialism is not, because it's not good, but sometimes it's not practiced well. I believe in capitalism, but I believe in capitalism with a human face. So, Radio Biafra is making use of the social media to spread its message, its motto, its condensed message, its main aim and objective, and that is in defense of freedom. And this is why the Radio Biafra, if it continues, by God's grace, is going to do a lot of things. It's going to dismantle a lot of walls, the walls of intimidation, walls of timidity, walls of racism. Yoruba people will say Olodo, walls of Olodo, and the Igbos will say walls of Itiborebo. You know, because knowledge is, I know knowledge is different from wisdom, but it's giving knowledge to many. And that's what social media is doing, teaching people, taking people to new horizons. You can teach yourself the way YouTube started by broadcast yourself. You can follow. There are a lot of people coming up now, teaching wonderful things, rising up hearts, and pushing up, driving up, and emboldening listeners. Like I said, it's now a temple of worship. And there's something that is interesting. Like I said, you call it, you see, I would have played the cliche of what he always said, that in Radio Biafra, it's Biafra is their sort of worship or something like that. We've seen recently there was a letter, a press statement dished out by the Nigerian president's spokesperson, in which they accused the IPOB of waging a war against the Nigerian state using Christianity. That's you and I. That's problem that is inherent in the average Nigerian, and that is not being able to be bold to talk, irrespective of the fact that we will see what is happening and we will not talk about it. We'll feign ignorance on the things that are bad. We are hypocritical on issues that are of paramount importance, and we get involved in misplaced priorities. We saw a statement he made, and we don't need to feign ignorance about that. The Nigerian state, especially during the time of this Buhari, has waged a war on Christendom, has waged a war on Christians. You go to Middle Belt, see how people are massacred daily, and thanks to God, with the arrival of the social media, we now see pictures, horrible pictures, gruesome photographs on how people are hacked to death. Families, father, mother, and children hacked to death. Who doesn't see that? We see all these things. And unfortunately, the Christian Association of Nigeria has not been vocal in defending Christians. This is why I said Radio Biafra is now a temple of worship for many. It's now doing a lot. And like I said, it's giving people the audacity of hope and bringing up a new age of renaissance and awakening. And it's redefining spirituality. It's redefining spirituality in the sense that we've seen what is happening in that country, Nigeria. Too many churches everywhere, millions of pastors, yet the horrible things are doing. It looks like, and I've always said it, that Christianity or that sector is now the biggest employer of labor. We see churches everywhere. People are opening up churches everywhere, and their main targets are the fruits that come out of their poor worshippers. We see so-called pastors starting up a church. Within a couple of months, they'll be driving big cars, living an ostentatious life of opulence, whereas their followers wallow in abject poverty. These people are not the new wave of preachings of prosperity instead of the key ingredients of Christianity. What is the aim of a Christian, so to say? What are Christians driving at? Is it not to live like their their God, who is Jesus Christ, the founder of that faith? And when he existed on earth, he was very simple. He never amassed wealth the way the current pastors in Nigeria are amassing, buying jets here and there, dining and wining with those. If Jesus Christ still come down today, he will be against. Or some of us who know chapters and aspects of the Bible are aware that when Jesus Christ was on earth, he was against the Pharisees and the Sadducees. That he even chased money changers in the temple. And the temple of Jerusalem at that time was the center of the Jewish economy. But he was against money changers, calling them you brood of vipers. Today, what do we see? The same kind, Christian Association of Nigeria, the pastors, the big men, the priests, they offer front pews to the high and mighty in the society. When they come to church, they go and sit in front, the knights, and well, I have to tell you, my father is a knight, but they're all the same. They stay in front of the church and sit down, whether they are good or the bad. The governor or the commissioner or important people in the society will just walk into the church. No matter the time they come in, they go straight, take up the microphone and start addressing the church. And it's difficult. It's unheard of. You now see them criticizing the leaders, despite the fact that freedom is stifled. There's poverty and penury in the midst of plenty. Nobody talks about that. We easily forget about Elijah, the prophet, Elisha, all the prophet, Nathan. Nathan even came up to King David. You know what it means? King David, who, like today's president, can decide to order his soldiers to shoot anybody and give them the consequences. King David, Prophet Nathan, went to David and told him how he killed Uriah and took his wife Bathsheba. He wasn't afraid. How many pastors will do it today? I'm not saying they are not good ones, but how many will be courageous enough? They will tell you to fast from today till thy kingdom come. Instead of, and the same people you are fasting against will still come to their church. And they will be afraid to tell the person, look at what you are doing, you are wrong. And this is what Radio Biafra is doing. That is what Radio Biafra is doing. Telling the truth. Calling the name the way it is, without fear or favor, no matter whose ox is God. And this is why we must forget about the new wave of propaganda or trying to give the man a bad name. In order, this is a new age of awakening. And that's why I likened it to 3 centuries time of European Renaissance, after Middle Ages, in which Protestantism came up. We've seen it in Nigeria. Today I saw riots in Katsina. I saw Talakawas, bringing down billboards of Buhari. Look at them. Fulani domination, hegemony. This set of people came from Guinea, deceived the Hausas, killed all their leaders, and for generations, how many years since 1808, or let's say, yes, 1808, when they defeated the Hausas, till these days, Hausas have been in total, that is, they've been servants. Those Almajiris you see are children of Hausas. They use in the guise of Islam. They keep dealing with them. And they've tried. That's what they are trying to do now, to extend that wave to the rest of the country. They permeated into Yoruba land. You've seen that in Kwara. How Kwara State is being ruled by Fulani. And you see that in Nigeria too. Islam, using the name of Islam, deceiving people. No civilization, just impoverishing people. Today, that is why it's important to say the truth and shame the devil, because it's unheard of the way our people reason. Because of a plate of porridge, many of us are no longer standing up for truth. We are no longer courageous because we feel we are okay. Every other person can go to hell. And that's why you see many. I know that in every group there's bound to be issues. But what you look is the idiosyncrasy of the leadership. I am not saying the man in charge of Radio Biafra is a saint. No. But the spirit is driven by courage, truthfulness, fearlessness in the face of intimidation, and divine-centric. And that's why I said it's redefined spirituality. Because many of our pastors are not teaching us the truth. The truth is righteousness. And that's why I said golden rule. In whatever I do, I try to look at the golden rule. Do unto others what it will be good if it is done unto you. If you use that as a guiding principle, it will take you aback anytime you want to do something bad. You will think, this thing I want to do, if they do it against me, how will I feel? What I'm planning to do now, if it is against me, how will I feel? And if you have that at the cost of your heart. It will help you to an extent, you know, in doing good. Because I know it's just by the grace of God, we are not saints. But it is important to pinpoint what Radio Biafra is doing and what the group that is behind its IPOB are after. We are talking about restoring the Republic of Biafra. Why do we? We want to achieve good where others have failed. We want to restore the dignity of man. Look at Nigeria. Everything about failure. Hypocrisy. Hatred. Wickedness. Impoverishing people. One person will just take up money that are meant for 100 million people. Look at what COVID-19 brought to this world now. Most of us were in Western society, we are asked to stay indoors. But the government catered for this, which means there's money. And when we talk about economy, it looks as if this money comes down from nowhere, oblivion. These things are controlled by man. They are controlled by humans. So it is important for us to stand up for truth. And that is why this radio is a weapon of truth. It stands for freedom and justice. It's divine-centric. It's guided by the idiosyncrasy of its leader. It's a temple of worship. It emboldens its listeners. And that is why I always say in my trademark adage that the greatness of Igbo philosophy is that anyone can be great. That is a typical Igbo ideology. You can rise from nowhere. As long as you don't want to have anything to do with failure, you work hard, you are going to make it. So this radio is in defense of freedom as its motto says about. We've seen that at least the leaders in Nigeria have now acknowledged that it's championing the cause of Christians, which this current government has been against. We are not feigning ignorance to that. We've seen that the current government has done a lot to deal with Christians. We've seen the Boko Haram. We've seen what they have done. We've seen the Fulani herdsmen. We've seen the extent of killing great number in communities. And we've seen under this government, we know about 7 jihadist organizations. 7 jihadist organizations, you can imagine, operating. They are complaining that the IPOB is spending $85,000 monthly to fight against the state. Forgetting about the fact that Mieti Allah was given 100 billion naira, and they've been issuing statements. A few days ago, their leader issued statements that they're mobilizing 100,000 men, security outfits across the country, that they have rights to Nigeria lands. They've always said that. We have videos, we have evidence. Yet Nigerians are keeping quiet. Nigerians are against the IPOB that is championed. If that IPOB has not even been doing something in their own little way, go to Ebonyi and many other places across the southeast and south-south. They've settled in forests, killing people, raping old women. Who doesn't know that the current government of Buhari has been giving tacit support to Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam, or the Miyetti Allah, which I just mentioned, they give whooping sum of money, or the Boko Haram, in which they have been using to siphon state fund and dropping arms for, or the Murabitum, Ansarudin, what even the Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and the Islamic State Greater Sahara, and the Islamic State West Africa. These groups have been allowed to gain foothold in Nigeria, and they are using them. Look at, they opened up borders in the north to bring in Fulanis from other West African fighters, and they've been streaming into the old eastern region in this COVID-19 era. Whereas there's lockdown, they've been streaming in able-bodied fighters. There are evidence that arms are being dropped strategically. They want to cause havoc. They want to cause confusion. They want to take over people's land. The way they've been killing in Middle Belt, they want to bring in their tactics of confusion, bloodshed, murder, rape, and annihilation of our people. If not the awareness being created mostly by the Radio Biafra via this social media, many of you will not be aware what is happening. And that is why we keep telling people to be conscious. The level of consciousness should be raised. You must prepare to defend yourself, because you don't have defenders. The governors cannot defend you. They are puppets. We've seen them. They are planted by the hegemonists. Many of them are bootlickers. They are the Fulani boys. Because of their appointments or the money they are getting. Look at the Fulani people. They are using our money to fight against us. They did this during the Biafran War, but this time it is not going to be so. So that's why you see them. They know that the average Nigerian is now aware of what is happening. The typical Yoruba man is not going to fight for a Fulani man, even if he hates the Igbo or the Biafran. The Middle Belt are not going to do so, even if they don't like the Biafrans. And that is why they opened up the borders, so that Fulanis will come in. Because they see Nigeria now as their land. Their stupid gods give to them. But they don't know that it's going to be an abattoir for them when the time comes. We are not looking for anybody's trouble. We don't want to invade anybody's land. But you see these people, they keep coming. They excel in rape. They excel in taking people's land. They excel in deception. They excel in stupidity. But when you know their art, you prepare for them. So it is important for us to understand what the Radio Biafra is doing in defense of freedom, not only for the average Biafran, for the Yoruba man, for the Middle Belter, for the Ibira man, for the Gala man, for the Nupe man, and for the Hausas. Hausas that your land has been taken. You cannot do anything. Look at emirs. Foreigners are ruling you for hundreds of years. They ruled your great-grandfather. They ruled your father. But you yourself can decide that it will end with my generation. And that is why you must listen to Radio Biafra and support the restoration of the Republic of Biafra. Because the rise of the Republic of Biafra will be the beginning of freedom for the people living around the river Niger and River Benue in particular, and Africans and the black race in general. It is important for you to know that. So as IPOB and its hierarchy through the Radio Biafra is redefining spirituality in the mindset of its listeners, we enjoin you to be conscious. Be conscious of your security. Be conscious of who you are. Know that the age of servitude and slavery is gone, because it is up to you as the newspaper in which I am the editor, Africa World Newspaper, says that unless the hunted gives his account, the story of the hunt will always favor the hunter. It is up to you to tell your story. And telling your story is saying that enough is enough. To hell with the Fulani hegemony. And that you shall be a free man by supporting the restoration of the Republic of Biafra. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Ukachukwu Okorie.
One of